Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Adrian's Digital Basement 2 Super Mini Mail Call. Let's get right into it. This package here comes from Clint in McLean, Virginia. Not Clint as in LGR Clint. This is a different Clint. Inside we have a note and we got a Slim SCSI card. These are a PCMCIA card or it's a PC card that allows you to use SCSI on laptops and things like that. What's in here, I wonder? Is it a laptop somehow related? Looks like we have a power supply and the cable for that Slim SCSI card. We have what feels like a very slim computer. Ooh, it's a ThinkPad. Look at that. It's got the extra battery pack on the back. This is a very typical ThinkPad thing. Let's see, how do we get this off? Does this come off? There we go. So yeah, extended battery, it gives you extra capacity. You could buy a normal battery that wouldn't have all these extra cells and then it wouldn't stick out. In fact, even the ones that are on here are like thicker. I think they probably have a thin one that just basically doesn't take up any space on this thing. So it's just nice and thin. This is an X series. So I guess this is a very early X series. I think I actually have an X. I have like an X250. This is just a very old one. Let's see, here it is. Centrino powered, it's an X61S. Yeah, Centrino Duo. So I guess it's got a dual core processor. It does have a missing key there. No trackpad because this thing is so small, but it has the very, very nice feeling keyboard. This is a Lenovo. This is not made by IBM. By this point, it was already bought by Lenovo. But yeah, that's it. And then I think this is an antenna, I'm assuming. It's got some kind of thing on the side of the screen here. Is that like for cellular radio or just Wi-Fi? Something like that. 2 USB ports, headphone and microphone, a modem, 20 volts input, and it has a FireWire jack, IEEE 1394 if I recall. On the front, there is a button here. I think this is for like the Wi-Fi on and off. I think to be Centrino branded by Intel, it had to have Wi-Fi, Intel Wi-Fi in there. So there had to be an on-off switch was what, like a requirement back in the day, something like that. And then on this side here, we have another USB port, Ethernet, VGA, card slot of some kind on the bottom here, like for some kind of memory card. And then we also have a PC card slot here. So that would be for this SCSI card right here, the Slim SCSI. So stick that in there. And then of course you need the very special proprietary cable that goes from this like very high density thing here. Must have like, 20 something conductors because you don't really need all 50 in there. And that would connect into there and stick out the side of your computer and then allow you to use SCSI. And we have one of the old IBM ThinkPad power supplies with a round jack. I actually still have some of these because after this, they went to a square jack, kind of a rectangular one. And I have some of these adapters with the little, it's this power adapter. And then on here, there's a little pigtail that goes from the round connector to the square one that works on the newer one. So my X250 uses that. That's the figure of 8 power cord that goes with it. There's a little sleeve for that SCSI card. And let's see what the letter says. Hi Adrian, I wanted to send you this Adaptec Slim SCSI PCMCIA SCSI adapter for quite some time. This is the slower, quote unquote, fast SCSI version that tops out around 2 megabytes per second. Painfully slow by modern standards, but good enough for old small disks. Hopefully you'll find a good use for it when working on old Macs and hopefully more SGI machines. Yes, boy, I've been talking about getting back to SGI machines for the longest time, and I have not done that. I wasn't sure if you had a working laptop with a PCMCIA slot, which I do actually because I have those Tough books and some other machines. I have noticed a disturbing lack of ThinkPads on your channel, so I've included an old ThinkPad T60S. Ignore the badge on the screen. It says it's an X61. This is an X series. This is not a T series. I had a T60, I had a T61. I have had a lot of ThinkPads in my life. And the T series are much bigger. They have 2 card slots. They have a trackpad here. They're not this incredibly thin and light thing like this. Let's look at the bottom. If anyone wants to look it up, this is a Lenovo Type 7668-CTO. And there's the serial number. Looks like it came with Microsoft Vista. There's that product key if you so desire to have it. So anyways, okay, well, back to the letter here. Maybe he goes on to explain why this is not an X series. He says this is one of his favorite form factors and should be quite easy on your newly repaired shoulder. Yeah, It's getting better little by little, my shoulder. It's slow going, but it is. I've installed Debian 11 on the ThinkPad. It's just a Core Duo, not even a Core 2 Duo, so it requires a 32-bit OS. But as the saying goes, Debian will run on anything. I've also set up the dual boot Windows XP in case that's helpful. With any luck, it should be handy bench companion. The Debian install has a handful of handy disk utilities like test disk and old/odd file system support. Note that the standard XP installer won't work on this machine because it doesn't support the SATA controller out of the box. So I've thrown XP install media with the SATA driver slipstream on the spare NTFS partition. I'd probably also upload that to the Internet Archive someday. Oh, well, that's very helpful. Thank you for that. That's really cool, actually. I have a copy of XP called like Micro XP or something, and it's like based on the very last version of XP. All the drivers are slipstreamed in, and it also removes all the bloat that was included with XP, so it's very, very lightweight. And on a machine like this, it would absolutely fly. It'd be super fast. I've run it on my old netbook, which is definitely slower than this thing, and it works absolutely fantastically. So I wouldn't be surprised if that particular version, this Micro XP, is not an official Microsoft thing. I think that would probably work on here. The username for both OSs is Adrian. It has a temporary password. You'll probably want to change that. At some point, I had the password set to more SGI videos just in case the 8-character limit doesn't work somewhere. That's funny. The slim SCSI adapter should be plug and play in other OSs. Being a genuine vintage Adaptec model, it should also have pretty broad support among disks and whatnot. Enjoy, Clint. Wow, okay, well let's fire this thing up. Let's see how this thing is working. Incidentally, I went and grabbed my X250. So this is my newer ThinkPad here. This thing is it an X250? Yes, it is, X250. So this thing, well, obviously it's grown a little bit, but you know what? It hasn't grown that much. That's actually interesting. Look at that size comparison. It's definitely a little bit wider, but it's not really any taller. It's just has more width to it, this new X250. But unlike the other machine, it's got a rather sizable trackpad. How did they make that happen exactly? Obviously, the width consideration has to do with the fact that this is a 16:9 screen, it's 1080p, while this one is 4:3. It's got the same swipey fingerprint reader on both of these. They've taken advantage of the extra space on the side. Of course, this X250 is like a Core i5 or i7 or something like that, and I bought this thing. This was my primary laptop for a long time, and I don't remember what generation of Intel thing, but it's got an SSD, it's got lots of RAM. I actually have K Ubuntu on here, so KDE, because I do not like GNOME at all. And this is my one Linux laptop because of course ThinkPads run Linux really, really well, and it absolutely flies. Oh, there it is. It's a Core i5 5300U. Even though it's got the chiclet keyboard, it actually still feels really nice. Even though this has got a chiclet keyboard on it, it's pretty hilarious because it feels so nice to type on that when I'm using my MacBook Air and then I go back to using this thing, I'm like, I cannot believe how nice this thing feels to type on compared to the Macintosh keyboard. And it's just like an M1 MacBook Air that I use. So it's not even like one of the older horrible Apple laptop keyboards, like one of the improved ones. And yet it doesn't even hold a candle to this thing. And you know, even though this is kind of an older machine, it certainly flies when it's running Linux and Ubuntu here. Anyhow, there it is, Ubuntu with KDE. And obviously you can see this has the slimline battery in here, and it still actually has pretty good battery life. It has two batteries. There's a second battery inside here, so you can actually remove this pack altogether. Oh, it's like a two-handed operation. That is the only thing that's annoying. So check it out, I just took the battery off, and look, computer is still working. That's because it's a ThinkPad and it's got two batteries in it, so it's designed to have a hot swappable second pack. Not to mention, of course, it has the docking station connector on there. I don't have the docking station anymore for it. Actually, I might still have that around somewhere. I had it for a long time because this was my main computer. I just docked it, used it with monitors. It was awesome, fast, everything like that. Thing is pretty light. I mean, it's pretty small. It's a 12-inch screen, 1080p. I know this is not, I'm not supposed to be talking about this laptop. We're supposed to be talking about this one here, the X61. Anyhow, like I said, I had the T series of the X series, or the same generation as I had a T61 for a long time. It was just the grown-up version of this. And if we look on this laptop here, there's that square connector I was talking about. They went to that from this round one just because they knew they were going to be slimming down the computers. and they wanted to, you know, just have more, I don't know, thinner bodies, I guess. And the power connector was gonna be too thick if they left it like that. But we'll plug this one in. I don't have the battery pack in. Oh, brings back memories. It brings back memories. Oh, there it is. ThinkPad. Now, of course, this has got a cold cathode backlight, so it's not very bright. This one, on the other hand, has an LED backlight. It's an IPS screen, 1080p. This is not gonna be IPS, I don't think. No, that is not IPS by any means. TFT panel. So it's not horrible, but that really wimpy backlight on these old laptops is really the Achilles heel. It will brighten up once the thing warms up, but it's one of the things that kind of makes using these old LCDs not so great. Oh, look at auto logged in. I didn't even need my password that was on the note here. Can you even see that? All right, there with the camera a little closer on the center, we can actually see the screen. Let's turn up the brightness to max. And it's already maxed out, so it's visible, but once you go off axis, it's not super visible. All right, one thing I can tell is this thing has a solid state drive in there because it booted up very quickly, and I don't hear the hard drive spinning, so it'll have a SATA, has a SATA drive in here, so it has a SATA solid state drive in there, not NVMe or anything like that. This says removable volume, not mounted yet, so that's obviously the Windows volume. This one up here, NTFS share, boot. Let's reboot this computer, and I want to try booting up into, let's shut down here. I want to boot up into Windows XP with that dual boot I saw that came up with a boot selector there. You know, the awesome things about ThinkPads, even this X250, but this as well, is the parts are readily available, and it's so easy to work on these machines. So like this keyboard's missing a key here, if that really mattered. Let's see here. Microsoft Windows, okay, there we go. That's the grub bootloader entry. If I wanted to fix the keyboard, we could. It would be easy. And this one, the keyboard's in perfect shape anyways. But that is what's so great about these ThinkPads, is they're so serviceable. I do absolutely love that. All right, there we go. Logged into Windows XP. I'm gonna plug this SCSI adapter in. I don't know which is up. You know, they could have printed top or something on there. That's pretty ridiculous that they didn't. All right, well, I got it in the right way. Oh, my computer might be at risk. Oh no! Looks like we have a CPU ID on here. We have DOSBox on here. Can't quite tell what that is. Looks like this computer has 300 and something megs of RAM. So that's a pretty significant amount of physical memory there. Pretty cool for something that as old as this. Way more than this Windows install uses, that's for sure. All right, well, here we are in Device Manager. I know you're not gonna be able to see it very well, but we have a couple unknown devices, but right there is SCSI and RAID controller, so that will be the laptop one here, and there it is, Adaptec Slim SCSI 16-bit PCMCIA SCSI host adapter. Well, let's try a hard drive. Here is a C drive. It's a Connor drive. It's a Connor 100 megabyte SCSI drive. I have this ribbon cable that goes to the 50-pin connector. This has the terminating resistors on here, so it is terminated. For those that have questions about that, I'm gonna power it with this little power supply here. Cable's plugged in, I just powered it up, it's spinning up. Let's go over to disk management. So we'll just take a moment for it to think. You know, we can see the different partitions on the built-in hard drive. Yeah, let's see, how do we do this? I haven't used Windows XP in a while. We should be able to rescan disks. Rescanning in progress, so hopefully it finds this. It did not. Looks like this is set for ID 1, which I'm sure is good enough for this Adaptec card here. Is there any Adaptec utilities on here? Oh, there is no search. Yeah, I was just starting to type. Nothing for Adaptec on here. Well, I suppose we can reboot. Normally doing that rescan option completely works. Well, and after rebooting, it's still not seeing it. So either, well, I know this drive is working. I just used it recently and it's good. So I don't know. I'm gonna reboot, go to Linux, and see there's a missing hole there. I'm gonna reboot, go to Linux, we'll see if it detects it there. And unfortunately, it does not look like it is finding the hard drive either. It says Adaptec there's the adaptive driver there for the 1520X SCSI driver. But that's it. Normally it should have auto-detected the hard drive. It says resetting bus. So yeah, I don't know. HiRQ3, SCSI ID 7, so that's what we thought. Parity enabled, blah, blah, blah. This drive absolutely should be working. I ejected the card. I suppose we could try a different hard drive just for fun, see if that makes a difference. I have one here. It says OS 9, so this will be formatted for the Macintosh. Let's plug this one in. There's no terminating resistor pack on here. I'm assuming there is a jumper. Yeah, TE, terminator enable, that is currently selected. So we'll plug this into power. Okay, there it is. And then we'll put this, once this is ready. Okay, it's made some seeky noises. Plug the card in. Oh, I'm hearing activity on the hard drive. So that indicates it definitely is working. Yeah, there it is. It did detect it properly. Quantum fireball. Cool. All right, so maybe this Conner drive died. Spinning hard drives totally suck. Totally suck. But yeah, there it is. Neat. Cool, and actually, looks like it showed up right here. Oh, authentication is required. There we go. And I think it's mounted this. And there it is. It totally worked. There's just random stuff on this hard drive. Cool, Mac MAME, Mac SNES. So yeah, that freaking awesome. That is cool. I am very stoked. I'm gonna unmount that cleanly. Okay, it has been unmounted from the system. Anyhow, okay, well that is gonna be it. I'm gonna pull this SCSI card out of here because fragile, this little connector here. You push here and it should slide out. There it goes. And I guess for this Conner drive here, I'm gonna just put a note on here and be like, bad? With a question mark, because I had written good on there. And like I said, I recently used it, but I guess further testing is warranted for that. So yeah, there we go, Clint. Thank you very much for sending in this ThinkPad with all these awesome, well, the two awesome OS installs with the utilities and stuff. The fact that the Debian install here just mounted this Mac NT or HFS partition table, whatever, perfectly is awesome. It's not even OS X, it's the old classic Mac. And yeah, this Slim SCSI thing is extremely useful. And I remember these coming out back in the day, and I never had one. I thought, that's a pretty neat thing. And there we go. In my retro computing endeavors, it's absolutely a useful thing. If anyone has any idea if this is actually an X61S, let me know in the comments section below. It certainly seems like my X series there. It's very similar to that. And yeah, so Clint, thanks again. I really appreciate it. Alrighty, let's keep this train going here. This one comes from Jace in Ukiah, California. I might be mispronouncing the name of that place. It looks like it is a TRS-80 color computer of some kind. Ah, look at that, a TRS-80 color computer 3, and wow, this is in mint, absolutely mint condition. Wow, what can I say? This thing looks like it's absolutely brand new. Like, the keys don't have any visible wear on them. The case is in perfect shape. There's no scratches, no scuffs, absolutely nothing. I guess there's a little bit of a scratch right there in the case, but it is very minor considering the age of this computer. We have the cartridge slot on the side there. And of course, the TRS-80 Color Computer 3, the big difference between this one and all the other color computers, the one, or you know, the original one with the gray case, and then the 2, it has composite video output, has an audio output, so it's not just RF, but more importantly, it's not any faster, but it supports additional graphics modes because on the bottom here, it has an RGB connector. Now, it's not the easiest one to use, but it's just like an IDC header, basically. That RGB output, well, I guess along with the composite output, gives you 80 column text possibility. You can expand this thing to, I think, 512K of RAM, or maybe even more. It's a 6809 processor, just like in the other Cocos. But yeah, there's additional graphics modes. I think the base configuration is 128K of RAM, so that means that there's games for this that don't run on the other ones, like Sierra games, because those all need 128K to work, at least on this architecture. And you get full 16 color graphics. And I think there's a color palette of 512 colors or something like that. I'm probably getting that all wrong, but this thing is really in nice shape. Let's take a look at the letter here. It says, Adrian, inside you'll find the Tandy Color Computer 3 I emailed you about. I got this free from my old boss when he moved out of state. He also gave me a 64C. The Commodore needed some help, and your videos definitely helped me repairing it. As for the Coco, well, I never even used it. I turned it on once to see if it worked, and it did. Yeah, they're pretty reliable, these computers. And other than that, it's just been collecting dust. I wish to thank you for the answers on my 1084 SP monitor. That's the boxy Philips one that I love. I did some poking around inside and couldn't see anything obvious. Thankfully, I found a person who specializes in repairing CRTs just a few hours away from me. Yeah, hopefully, Jace, you can get that fixed. Thanks for your videos and your cheerful attitude. Here's to many more fun videos. And that's awesome. There's like a little seal there. I love that. That is cool. It kind of soaked through the paper a little bit, but that's okay. But yeah, there it is, your boss's old Coco 3. Well, let's give this thing a quick test. All right, I have it hooked up to the RetroTink. Let's turn this on. Where's the power switch? There it is. It's normal for it to take a moment. There it is. Of course, it's looking terrible because I have the Tink in the wrong mode. Let's fix that. Oh, we saw the green there. What is it called? The crazy green, super green. Extended Basic 2.0. Yeah, you know, it starts out in like total compatibility mode with the other models, but yeah, without a doubt, this thing is much more capable than the other ones. Let's see if I can run a piece of software on this. Here is my Coco SDC, so it's a SD card in here. I think this has got some stuff on there. It plugs into the cartridge slot. This allows you to run disk images and things like that very easily on here. Even though the color scheme looks weird, that's the graphics, the video chip in this thing. That's just the way it looks. Yeah, anyways, let's run this. This was made by someone special for me. Take a look at this. Press enter if read, and it is. It's an 8-bit dance party on the Coco. All right, well, obviously the sound capabilities on the Coco are not up to the same level as on the SID. There's actually like a very primitive 6-bit DAC, digital audio converter in here. So if you notice, it was actually playing multi-channel audio there, like 2 channels, I think is what it was doing. This was made off of a MIDI file, like the music comes from a MIDI file. So it's possible for a machine like this to actually play full-on digital music, you know, multi-channel, good sounding stuff. But the difference is, compared to the 64, it requires all of the CPU's power, or most of the power. There's only enough CPU power left to do this very simple animation while the music is playing. Maybe a full-on super capable demo coder could do better, but unlike on the 64, where the sound chip is pretty much its own thing, you just send it instructions and it plays notes and you can control the way it sounds and all that. It's a synthesizer. That takes very little CPU power, which is why the 64 can play music while doing full-on graphics and whatever else. But yeah, machines like this, it's very much like just a beep speaker. It's just more capable than a single beep speaker because that's just 1 bit. This has 6 bits, so there's actually volume control. So you can create waveforms and stuff. And that's how this sounds better than a beep speaker. Okay, well, that was just the end of the song there. Anyways, yeah, 8-bit dance party. Is this a first on the Coco? I will make sure this is available on archive.org or wherever. I can't remember where I uploaded this, so I'll put a link in the description. If you're a Coco fan and you want to run one of these yourself, thank you very much, Paul, for making this demo for me. It's pretty awesome. He just whipped this out one day. He's like, oh, check this out. He sent it over to me. So there it is. It's the first time we're having a dance party on something other than a 64. Now that dance party program, by the way, works on the Coco 1 all the way to the Coco 3. It doesn't use anything special on this machine, which is why it was just like white, black, and 2 colors. I don't know if there's Coco 3 specific stuff on here. I may need to look around just a little bit and let's see if I can find something that is. All right, well, here's a demo. I don't think there's any music. Let's see. Oh, there is. And obviously there's animation as well, but I don't think this is a Coco 3 demo. I think this is just working on any Coco as well. Oh, except the colors are changing. So maybe this is for the Coco 3. I am not totally sure about that. But what you can see is we're getting 60 frame per second animation and some music. So like with demo coding, it is possible to do more on this machine than what we were just looking at. The one last thing we're gonna run here is this program called Coco ID, which is telling me here that, of course, I have a Coco SDC in here, but we have a Color Computer 3 with 128K of RAM and a 6809 CPU. And the GIME or GIME chip is from 1987. That's like the new fancy video chip or whatever the chip in here that like gives all the extra Coco 3 capabilities is this GIME chip. So yeah, the ROMs we have Color Basic 2, Extended Color Basic 1.0, and I guess the STC ROM is a 1.6. So yeah, this is a bone stock Coco 3, but it's a freaking mint condition one that looks, I can't even believe it. This thing looks like it was like kept out of the sun its entire freaking life. It looks amazing. My Coco 3 that's upstairs, it was very, very yellowed. I did a full retro bright on it. It looks a lot better, but it doesn't look anything like this. This is like, the keys are white. They're just completely white. I'd say this has like 0% yellowing on it. Plus there's a few other little defects on the one I have, like some little dimples on the plastic. Someone put screws that were too long, stuff like that. So probably what I'll have to do at a future time is swap the motherboard out of the Coco 3 upstairs into this case, because the other one is expanded memory and stuff like that. And yeah, have one like absolutely mint condition Coco. So Jace, thank you very much for sending in this beautiful Coco 3. I really appreciate it. And sorry to everyone looking for a repair. Coco 3s are generally extremely reliable machines. So I figured as much that there'd be nothing to do on this thing. So there we have it. That's gonna be it for this mail call. Thank you very much, Clint, for sending in this ThinkPad with this Adaptec Slim SCSI card with the cable. That is freaking awesome. And then thank you, Jace, for sending in this absolutely minty fresh Color Computer 3. Absolutely pretty awesome stuff here. Unlike my mail call from a couple mail calls ago where everything was broken, everything works in this one. Can you imagine that? Sometimes things actually work. So if you enjoyed this video, thumbs up. If you didn't, you know what to do. Thanks to my patrons. Their names are scrolling up the side of the screen here. Patrons get early access to videos, stuff like that. If you want to become a patron, there is a link down below. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps me out, especially on the second channel. And I guess that is going to be that. So stay healthy, stay safe, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.